it's Catherine, and as an incoming sophomore at college, I thought I'd show you guys what it is exactly like to be a senior becoming a freshman again. After 4 years in high school, you've really got your bearings, you know exactly what to do, and you're coming into an entirely new situation. So I want to tell you what exactly the differences are and what you have to adjust to as a college student versus a high school student. Number one, and something everyone says across the board, is that your time in class is way diminished. You do not have 8 hours of class. You don't have to be at school at 7 a.m. and leave at 3 p.m. It's not like that. You spend very limited time in class. A lot of my classes are only held 2 times a week, one of them only 1 time a week. So basically, you have a ton more time on your hands. Spend that how you like, but it also means that the time not spent in class every single day should be spent studying so that you keep up with the rigor. Number two, within those classes, there are just more tests. And it might not feel like there are more tests, but compared to the ratio, I remember in AP Bio, I had 6 tests over the year. And if you take a biology course in college, you might only have a midterm and a final, and that's gonna make up maybe 40% of your grade, maybe 70% of your grade. So, like I said, the time spent out of class should really be preparing for those big monumental moments of tests and exams in your classes, because those make up a lot of your grade, and it is scary. It doesn't feel like high school where you can kind of make it through on projects and participation and everything. College, if you don't stack up on those tests, your grade's gonna suffer. It sucks, I know, but just something you have to get used to. Number three, you have a lot more power over your schedule. In high school, my guidance counselor took care of every single one of my classes. I told him, here are the classes I want, and he basically just did my schedule for me, told me what period I have what, and mapped out my entire day for me. I had limited control. Occasionally I could choose a teacher or two, but in college you're able to choose the class you want, the time you want, and the professor you want, hopefully, if you have enough control and you're not going to a school with impacted classes. But that means that you can decide if you want to wake up at 8 a.m. for your yoga class like I'm doing, or if you want to sleep in until 2 p.m. every single day and only take general education courses. It's entirely up to you, which is definitely a double-edged sword, because it's very difficult to kind of map out what you want your schedule to be, and it's actually pretty hard to find the right classes with the right times with the right teacher that all fit into your schedule. I had so many conflicting things between marching band and being a tour guide and having meetings that it became very, very difficult, and I almost wished I had a guidance counselor to do it for me. So be mindful of that. Realize that you do have power over it, so whatever you end up making for yourself, own it and don't complain about it, because everyone else has their own unique schedule, and if you have Friday classes, you'll be fine, don't worry. Next, I know in high school, every single day after I get home from school, whether I was coming home from a basketball practice or a music rehearsal, once I was home, that was my alone time. Most of the time my parents didn't get home until 8 or 9, Silicon Valley life. Until then, I just had tons of time to myself to go on my computer, do whatever I want, maybe text a few friends. But in college, when you get back from class, your roommate might be home, or there's tons of people in your hall wanting to talk, or you're gonna go to the dining hall and meet tons of people there. So you're just gonna be hanging out with people a lot more than you would expect. Also, with clubs and organizations, I know in high school they were taken really lightly and not very seriously at all. I know for Spanish club, I could show up 2 times and no one cared, and you just did whatever you wanted, and going into MUN, you just join the club, it's not really a big thing. But here in college, anything you join is gonna have an application. It's really weird, because there are just simple things you thought, well, I could just join this, but no, almost everything at least has an application, maybe an interview component. And although that sounds a little bit tiresome, a little bit strenuous, it actually is really great, because it makes you way more committed to that club, because once you actually write out that whole application and reflect upon why you want to be in that organization, it makes you a lot more committed. It makes the whole system much more serious, and people just become more mindful of why they're in it and what kind of impact they can have on campus. So with clubs and organizations, you are going to have to put a little more work into the front end of things, and actually in the back end of once you're in the club and you're contributing to their work. One of my favorite things about college is how beautiful the campus is. At least going to USC, I think our campus is absolutely gorgeous. It's sunny all year round, and I just love all the brick, all the architecture, all the gardening, the landscaping looks like Disneyland. Every single time I walk on campus, I see something so spectacular and beautiful. My high school campus, a lot of people thought it looked like a brown dungeon, like a prison. It definitely was not aesthetically pleasing, so once you get into college, you get to actually choose the environment you want to be in, choose the weather you want to be in. But it is great to be somewhere beautiful, let me say that. finally, regarding the people, high school versus college, I think in high school we tend to get an environment where there's a mixed split. I was at a pretty competitive high school, but there were still people that really didn't care about their future, didn't care about their classes, didn't like learning. And I think in college, people are there because they're paying for it or their parents are paying for it, and they know what they want to get out of it for the most part. So everyone there is very, very mindful of their future and very open to what you have to share. Everyone at my college is really, really accomplished and has something unique they're bringing to the table, and everyone's really open to hearing about that and wanting to know how they can work with you, bringing in your unique talents. So I think all in all, because you're choosing to be in college, you're not just sliding into high school based on where you live or based on where your parents want you to go. You get to be surrounded by people that also want to be there and also want to try just as hard as you do. So that is just so encouraging and so great to be around. So those are the specific differences I've noticed as a college freshman versus a high school senior. There definitely are a lot more differences, so please, if you have been in college and high school, comment down below with what you have noticed so we can add to the collection. And of course, thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys in my next video. Don't forget to subscribe, and Catherine out.